Hi folks, it's Keith, VE3SVQ, also VA3KEI, and the author of the Shaky Key blog or vlog if we're doing a video on it. It's just something I have a bit of fun with. What I'm looking at here is mainly for the new hams, although in my case I've been a ham since 1990 and this was new for me about a year ago, so it sort of can encompass a large group. And I'm just calling it getting started in Pota. And I think the best way to do this is to keep it simple. And I think we all make these mistakes. I know I certainly did when I got into ham radio. I did when I was looking at doing the parks on the air. I mean, we get wrapped up in everything that's needed. And I'll give you an example. When you first get into ham radio, what do you look at? You look at the ads for all the shiny new radios, for those great big monster antennas. And you think you just have to have them, and then you start to look at the prices and you get discouraged. But the reality is, you can get into this hobby at a relatively inexpensive price. When I first started, I used a secondhand HW101, so one of the old Heath kits, tube radio. And I just sold it actually this past year to someone who's now using it. That was a great radio. I got close to 100 contacts around the world on that old tube radio. And it was just a real workhorse. So I didn't need to spend $2,000 or $3,000 or $5,000 on a radio to get my signals out. I didn't have a great big huge antenna on top of the house. I actually had a wire, 40-meter wire that simply went up one side of the house, across the roof, around the other side, and back down. And it got me out all over the world. So again, piece of wire, that was it. Had an antenna tuner, obviously, but you don't need to spend a lot of money. And I think Pota is pretty much the same way. When I first looked at doing this almost a year ago, it was a little bit awe-inspiring, like, wow, I need a telescopic mask, I need this antenna, that antenna, and oh, look, portable antenna tuners, and, I got to camp out and all this stuff. And then you just back off and you say, okay, so how can I do this relatively inexpensively, have a lot of fun, and at least get started? And so I started watching some of the videos and, watched actually an awful lot of them. And then one or two hit me, and I thought, wow, these guys got the right idea. They're keeping it simple. And all it was really was, get your radio, put it in your car or truck. You can transport it with you. You don't have to operate it mobile, with it bolted in or anything. Slap an antenna up on the roof of your vehicle and drive to whatever park you want to be in. In my case, because I don't drive with the antenna up, I always park, and then I put it together and slap it on the roof. But it was so simple, and it got me out there into the parks. I've done, I think, 7 activations now. I probably wasted 3 or 4 months of this year ordering the stuff I thought I needed, and of course it all takes time to arrive. And I have used it. I have actually put the telescoping mast up at 31 feet and all this type of stuff, run an antenna to it and everything. But most of the time, all I want to do is go to a park. I don't have a lot of time with my schedule. So for me to be able to drive to a park that's a half hour, maybe 45 minutes from my house, this is ideal. And I can drive there, I can have the radio hooked up, the antenna on the roof, and be operating in probably about 15 minutes. And I can operate for 2-3 hours, and then I can take it down in roughly another 15 minutes and truck on home. And it's worked wonderfully. So for those who are just starting, just getting into it, and not sure about what they want to spend or how complicated it's going to be, my recommendation is keep it simple. Once I wrap up here, I will do some of the videos. I'll cut some and paste them in of my setups when I go out in the car. So it'll be a bunch of different settings, different parks that I was in, but it'll give you an idea how everything fits. Now, I have one advantage is I have an ICOM 7300, which is the first new radio I've ever bought, and it has a built-in tuner. So this definitely helps when you're doing this stuff. one piece you don't need to worry about. You don't have to bring an antenna tuner with you and worry about whether it's a balanced wire and all that type of stuff. So anyways, watch what's coming. As I said, let's keep it simple because we want you out there. I want to get out there. I love being out there. And you'd be surprised the number of people who will stop and say, just what are you doing? And then they get really fascinated and interesting with what you're doing. So hope you get out there. I hope you get out and activate a park this year. Keep it simple, and you'll have a lot of fun as well. So it's Keith, Victor Echo 3, Sierra Victor, Quebec. Some of the other clips will follow after this. Have a great day, 73.
Now the antenna, actually very simple to put together. You've got the end that screws in. You've got a top part where you've got a whip here that goes into as well. And it's pretty straightforward. Once you get it in, there we go. Now you can tweak these, you can play with them, you can adjust the length of the whip and see where you get your best SWR. These are the type of things you would be doing normally. To tighten it, you've got two little screws here. Now they give you an Allen wrench with it. I prefer my own, and it's just a matter of tightening it up and getting that whip set into place. Then of course it goes up on the roof. So that's really what it looks like when you're done. There's your base part, there's the big long whip part attached to it. So pretty simple. For those of you who haven't seen the setup here, it's a pretty simple one. 7300 up on the dash, and it's hooked up to a hamstick, 20-meter hamstick on the roof. And there's my park. There's the battery which I use. I absolutely love this little battery. It's a Brute by Markham, wonderful battery. Serves me well. I've yet to have any problems with battery issues, which is always good news. So there you go, simple setup. If you've watched these videos before, you know the one I use. This is pretty much my standard go-to setup. This is what we're using today. It's pretty much my normal one. And that's just an MFJ 20-meter hamstick on the roof. Small car, so not a lot of metal, but it goes up quite high. As you can see, it's a nice area around here. And signals reports today were just booming in. We were having lots of fun time, lots of clear, strong signals all over the eastern and the central states.